to continue this painting, I am going to use just the Indian yellow, which is the very nice transparent yellow that I have. And I'm just going to brush it slightly. The sunrise is there, so I'm just going to brush it slightly on top of the colors that we have there, the darker colors. Actually, what I'm going to do, because it does look greener than I want, so what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of the alizarin crimson with that Indian yellow, and that gives me sort of a nice transparent orange color. And this is exactly what I just wanted to do, is just brush slightly on top of some of those areas in these buildings. There's kind of a row. I think I wanted even a little bit more red. Maybe I should have used red instead of yellow to begin with, but it doesn't really matter. Things are, yeah, I like that. So it's just insinuating that there's some things between this pier that we have here and the buildings that are more towards the back of that pier. So it's like the marina is behind the pier that we have here. Now, I don't know why I'm giving you all these explanations, because the idea is just to give an impression of some structures that make sense, is the impression of light, what I am trying to do with this painting. But oftentimes the viewer wants to try to see what exactly is the painter showing, and sometimes they can get lost, or sometimes they actually can get a bit upset if they don't understand what they're seeing. So hopefully by just adding these transparent washes on top, it gives a little bit of that impression. And then I am going to use a little bit of a a lighter blue color on top of that mix that I had. It gives me a very dirty gray, and this dirty gray, let's see, it's just gonna be in some areas of here. It's probably, yeah, it's nice. I don't want it to be a very defined color, so it's just gonna be like in between some of these areas of the pier. I think I am seeing through the structures on this pier. I don't even know what exactly I'm seeing, but I'm just seeing some areas in here that are interrupted by darker places. And that's what probably was the railings that we will reestablish in the bottom. So that's it for that area. And using the same dirty color in the back, I just want to brush it slightly. This creates a bit of color harmony in your painting. And remember, that was the very light purple line that we had established at the beginning. I don't like that blue in there. It's too much on my face, too blue. So by making it with this dirty gray we had, I think that's better. So that creates some idea of structure without going too much in details on what that structure is. So do I need to clean the brush right now? I believe I do, because what I would like to do next is to come back. I believe the sky is the one that I need to establish with more clarity before we go on the reflections in the water. And some of these areas are going to see through, we're going to be seeing through some light, and in other areas it's going to be dark. So we'll be working on that later. All right, so for that reflection, we now, on top of the cadmium red, we are going to use cadmium yellow and just add it in the center of that, and that's it. But I am going to just mix that cadmium yellow with white. It's going to be used for some of these reflections in the sky that is getting some of that very bright yellow. And some people actually use their fingers. These are acrylics, and just make sure that they're not toxic. I am using actually the cadmiums that I use are not cadmiums, they are hues. And you will find a lot of references of what's the difference between them. Artists, serious artists or professional artists. I'm just using the cadmium with white to create some of that. So now remember, the orange color is the sky, and the sky should be a smooth color. So I'm just trying to transitioning it to the color that we had, which was the orange color. So just very light touch on this sky to create that sensation of very bright, beautiful sunrise. And as it goes a little farther from the sky, that reflection gets more into the orange color. Okay, so I'm just, you know what, I have an umbrella, but I don't think it's positioned in the right place. Oh, sorry about that. I thought I had fixed the problem of my shadow. All right, well, I tried. Next time I need to know exactly how to position that umbrella. Okay, I don't want to waste right now time, and if I stop the video, then actually I have to start another video. Okay, so I'm just doing some of these lining on this is going to be like the lining of those clouds, and the rest is like this area of the sky that we can start seeing with either more yellow. This is just cadmium yellow on top of what I was painting. Cadmium yellow, it's an opaque color, and I'm going to transition that to directly using some Indian yellow, which is more transparent for that transitioning of the color of the sky. So as you can see, it's just a slight touch of the brush to make sure that those reflections of the sky do look like they are just shining, making that bright color moving along with the rest of the color of the sky that becomes a bit less, more pink and less yellow. But with the Indian yellow, it's a really nice way to transition the opaque to the more transparent color, and then going into that so in here, going into that pinkish color that we had in here, because the sun is shining around, we are just going to make it brighter around that sun we painted. All right, so the sunrise is the one that where you place the sun, and we wanted to place it there. I thought I was going to place it here. Oh well, it doesn't matter. We already placed it over there, so let's work with what we have. Now I'm going to use a bit more of the Indian yellow. I think that was too much cadmium for that area, and with the Indian yellow I can transition to the pinky color of the sky in a nicer way. Okay, so I hope that you are so far following for this second part, working on this sunrise. So what do we need to do here? I think in here, the we can use also, how about using also the idea of the Indian yellow under this area, and we just move it down like you see me doing. Indian yellow on top of that rosy color, just to create the sensation of that brilliant reflection of the sun. I think I put too much Indian yellow there, but that's okay. We can just move it with our brush. And that transparency is so nice. I mean, I know that I repeat that a lot, but I do like that transparency. It's brilliant. I mean, some people actually prefer the cadmiums, but I like those transparent colors a lot. Okay, so I think I'm getting carried away with the Indian yellow, which I should stop and start transitioning more into the pink color. Now, that reflection will be down here in the water. So what I'm going to do, since I have yellow right now in my brush, just lightly clean, and this is a lot of white with Indian yellow. It's not cadmium. I'm sorry about that light. Anyway, so just where we have the sun, we're going to see some reflections, and as they get closer to us, these reflections in the water get wider. So just like that. And now with an orange color that I created with alizarin crimson, Indian yellow, and white, just under those areas or close to those areas, just a bit of that orange peeping through those waves. And that's why we had the base color of blue. Now there's going to be more yellow reflected, but it's not going to be that brighter yellow of the sun, of the reflection of the sun. It's going to be more of the orange color, which is this color that we have here. So that color is going to be reflecting in some of these areas here of the water, and in some cases, you know, this is the way that I like painting waves. So we just sometimes is pushing a bit more. You can see I have this color here, and there's going to be some, probably a bit more in this area of that nice color. Here is going to be bluer. Okay, that's for the start. What do we need to do here? I think in here, because we have more of the rosy color. So do we need to put more rose color on the sky? My answer to my own question is I think so. Now we don't need to completely clean the brush. And this is the rosy color, is alizarin crimson and white, with a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, of the Indian yellow. Let's see if it's too rosy. I think it's nice. I think it's a nice transition, and we are going to make some rose color here. Now I am going to use in one end of the brush that combination that we had here for the, and in the other is the rose color, and I think this will make that sky transition a bit nicer. It was a bit too dark, and that's because, in part, because the acrylics dry darker, and in part because I think I was not completely, I mean, I only had the darker colors, I did not have the lighter colors, so my perception of the dark was too dark because I was comparing to the darkest of all. But now that I'm seeing the whole painting, I do believe that the dark clouds need to be made a bit lighter. So this is the sky. I'm just transitioning with what I painted before on the yellow, nice transparent yellow. So now this pink color is made with alizarin crimson and white. So the alizarin crimson is transparent, but the white is opaque. And by just brushing it where I had put the transparent yellow, it's just, in my mind, is making a nice transition. And I can always go back with a tiny bit of the Indian yellow so that it's, because it was dry, but now I can just move the paint easier and transitioning it easier with that. I like that rosy color for the top. I'm not convinced I like that. So what I'm going to do is, I think we are going to, well, before that, I see that there's here a need for a transition also between the yellow and the rosy color. Yeah, I think it just moving it around looks better. And perhaps in this area it was too yellow. Now it's completely pink. Pink skies. And here, I just used that same pink color with a little bit of the mix that I had with Indian yellow and white. And I think, although I don't want to attract too much attention to that end, there's going to be some clouds, and the clouds have not very well defined edges, and the rest is the sky, and the sky goes lighter as it goes to the bottom. Do I want to make that sky blue in the horizon? And the answer is, let's see what the painting tells us we need to do. I'm not sure yet about the colors, which is probably why these videos take me longer because I don't practice them ahead of time. I'm not painting this for a second or third time, so I don't know if I want to make them look more blue or if it's okay like that. Okay, I think this area is getting better, but my mind is a bit too yellow. So let's just add some of that nice pink color to the sky. I mean, it's nice to have the yellow sky, but as you can see, I'm not getting rid completely of the yellow. It's still yellow underneath, but by adding the pink color, I think it's making it a more interesting sky. And what I probably need to resolve better is some of these clouds. So I did say the clouds were too dark. All right, now let's just add some of that pink color of a reflection on the water. And this is just, you know, waves. We see a lot of the pink color now in the area, in the central area of the painting. So it's not reflecting this, it's reflecting what's on top. But of course, you know, there's some, it just makes sense that we have some of these reflections and not everything completely, you know, blue. So the water was actually running sort of this way, not necessarily very horizontal. And we have some other areas of pink, close to where we have the color there, the yellow color, and we will be coming back with some other accents of blue and greenish blue. Okay, don't mix, don't be tempted. That's the whole idea, and that's why it's easier to paint these reflections of water with acrylics, because, well, with oils you need to wait until the paint dries to be able to apply it. I believe we are a bit off. Okay, we can always put the other accents in there. So now let's clean white brush, clean it, and make that sky a little bit more of a gentler, lighter color of the sky. So for the sky color, I have mixed a little bit of ultramarine blue, white, and a tiny bit of the alizarin crimson. And I like this color, is nicer, and we are going to be using it for both some indication of clouds and also nondescript transition to the sky. So the edges don't have to be necessarily all blended with the color of the sky. Okay, I'm just trying to gently open it here, and let's make this. Okay, now I have a little, just a tiny bit of the Viridian green. With that color. And I just add a tiny touch of the red to that sky color to make it gentle purple. It is lighter than what we had before, and I want that cloud to be close to where the sky is. There was another gentle cloud coming here. So I know that I was painting that sky for the transition, but it did have a bit more of the cloudy sky that day. Okay, so we need to have that little bit of the purple to indicate clouds. And of course, some of the clouds are more transparent than others. You don't need to use necessarily the same color for all the cloud formations, but it's always nice to be able to differentiate. At least I like to differentiate if I am painting clouds or if I am painting the sky. So a little bit of that purple has made, in my mind, or to my eye, those clouds a little bit more. I understand what's happening with my painting a little bit better. Okay, so there's clouds and there's opening of the sky. Do I like this particular area? I think this became a bit too dark. And in terms of the clouds, I think just this one here that's in the back, just a bit more defined, that we had some of those clouds, and gently brush it, because as they go farther they get lighter. Okay, and now what I want to do is probably work a bit more on that area of the sky, but let's wait until that dries a little bit. I don't like what I did closing up that much. I think I need to have less of the blue in there. So what I can do, see if I can do it. You're probably saying, what is she doing? No, don't do that. Okay, it's just water. And just with water, I'm just gonna try to see if I can get rid of some of that blue layer. Again, I'm dunking it in water and just trying to lighten this a bit more so I can then paint the lighter sky. Okay, water is just water on the brush right now. And I think these are gonna be defined better. Okay, I am making a bit of a mess, but it may work. This is just a rag, on the clean side of the rag, just getting some of that paint out. And now we have our pink color of the sky with the orange. I'm just gonna mix them on the canvas. And so where do I want this pink to end? Gently, gently ending over there, and then maybe just coming in with some cloud formations in there. I do like that cloud formation that was right by the sun, and I think that created a nice contrast. And then we're gonna have some brighter areas of color under some of these clouds, and we had some more sort of cloudy areas in here and here. Okay, I think I like it better opening it that way. So in terms of the water, we are going to have some of these wavy pink reflections in some of these areas in the water, because now we have more pink than blue. And we have here some reflections, but that's going to be coming with a bit more of the white. So we need more white. I did not clean the brush because we're going to be using the white that had that Indian yellow, and I don't mind if I have a little bit of that pink with that lighter color. And those were some areas of very bright reflections in the water, right vertical, where we are seeing some of that reflection of the sky. So I'm just getting the brush in a vertical fashion just to indicate reflections. And I think that that's too white. Sometimes, you know, to make it brighter, I'm just using a bit of the cadmium yellow on top. And then these reflections, I think they will give the idea of the reflections of the water in terms of the sunlight. And then I'm just adding a bit of the lighter color on top. I'm gonna come back with a darker color anyway. Okay, so then I see a reflection around here. I see other areas in the bottom of this railing that are peeking through. And I definitely see areas behind. Not all of them. Some of them are getting light from behind, and this is all reflection of that pier. Okay. Now in the back, I do see some of the orange here. And I think it's gonna be a bit more of the rosy color in there. So where else should I use this orange? So in the reflections of the water, we have a mix of the orange, the blue, and the rose color. So it's good to use the same colors that we had and just insinuate some of these. All right, so now I'm gonna wipe the brush, and there are some dark areas that I want to establish. But before I go into the darks, because I still have the brush still has a mix that has some white. So let's just go into the turquoise color. And with this turquoise color, we are just going to get that water line. It should be straight. And I think that should have been a bit lighter. And then we just shape this pylon. Pylon should be straight and it's against the light. And this pylon should be smaller than this one because it's in perspective. And so what I see here is probably more of the color of this blue reflection or blue sky more than the orange. And this half of this dark is water and half of it is the pier. And here, so this is the Viridian green with white, titanium white. Okay. And it's basically that's going to be more or less the color of the water, where it is reflecting lighter color of the water, and we will go with a darker one in other areas. So we have, or I have created also a lighter version of that same color, and that lighter version of that color should be coming more in these areas where we see lighter colors. Okay, and like you see, it's I don't have a formula for placing them. It's just where we see a lighter reflection. So probably that's the one that I should have used for the back. That's fine, no problem. Now here we just have to, and as you can see, it's a thick application of paint. At this point, I'm no longer using transparent washes, but I am using the opaque colors. And the opaque colors are used as we build the painting. They are used on top of the other colors to create more of volume. If you start thick, you can never go thin again. If you start with opaque, you can never get the transparency again. So that's why my recommendation is start with light and transparent colors and start adding the opaque, light I mean thin, not light in terms of color. Usually for acrylics and for oils, you need to start with the darker colors because they are transparent and you can build on top. So under here, I see reflections that are actually this building reflects a little bit, and then around it, there's some light areas. So I will go and use some dark, but not now, because right now I have white in my brush and I'm just wanting to follow that particular light color with white. So wherever I see white, oh, see what happened? I brushed and I got a yellow. So do I want to keep it there? Maybe not, because I want the yellow to be more in line with what we need here. Okay, there's an area under this, which is the aqua color, that had less white. I'm not cleaning the brush because at this point I don't mind, but this had several levels of reflection, but I just don't want to put too many details by the edge of the painting. So just some structure there. Some of it was reflection, some of it is the structure that's going in that I could see from the top of the railing. Okay, so what I did say is I wanted to make a little bit brighter on the back of the painting. The horizon should have a lighter color. So this is the level of the water, and the level of the water should be straight. I mean, not only straight, but without an angle. Things can be straight but in an angle, but that's not how water goes. Okay, and you probably are thinking, why doesn't she change to a smaller brush? I don't know. The answer is don't know. Okay, these are reflections, I think. I don't even know exactly what I'm seeing. And pretty much we have some accents to do. Now, with the same brush, not cleaning it, I have the darker mix of blue, which is ultramarine blue, a little bit of Viridian green, and just, you know, a lot of white. My white is potent, so I don't know how much white you would need to put. And remember, I had to make this mix lighter than I had it before because it was drying too dark. I still don't I still don't learn my lesson. Acrylics dry dark. And so just in some of these areas, we're going to add this darker blue, especially closer to us, and just pieces of paint applied by the areas where we put the other paint. So this is what will create the idea or the sensation of waves, because the waves have volume, and so some areas are creating a shadow and some areas have a bright, sort of a crest, I think it's called. So by painting pieces of dark and light, and where I have this reflection, if I put some dark in here, I will come back with a lighter color, and it will just bring it in a nicer, for contrast. I think adding sometimes the dark makes, well, all the time, adding dark close to a light makes the light look lighter. Okay, so time to clean the brush. Time to clean the brush with a little bit of water, even though I'm going to be still working on the area of the water. Although now that I have this clean, sorry about that. I just banged. Okay, I'm just going to use a little bit of cadmium yellow with white, because I want to get more white than yellow. So I want to get this bright area in the middle, and then there's some areas that are reflecting that light under these clouds. Okay, and you can see it's a light touch, and this is the area that was getting brighter reflection of that sunlight. Now, I don't see it in my photo. The photo doesn't have that dramatic sky, so I'm making a lot of this up. So same combination of the light cadmium. It's cadmium medium. I think it's cadmium yellow medium, and a little bit of white, not too much white, but just a little bit. There's some reflections that will actually be producing that sensation of light. And again, you can use your fingers or a clean brush. If your acrylics don't have AP, don't use your fingers, especially if it's cadmiums. They are toxic. Mine are AP, they are hues, they're not real cadmium. Okay, I don't want to do too much. I just want to make sure this area of bright sunlight is reflected there. And I think now we can re-establish some of the yellow with white in terms of these reflections. You know what I'm going to do, and don't panic, is that I am just going to re-establish some kind of bluish color on top of here, because I don't like the way these reflections are looking. So this is ultramarine blue with a tiny bit of Viridian green and a lot of white. And then I have that other that has more Viridian green than the blue, and I'm just going to be cutting in here some of these reflections, and some of this water should have less waves, but some of these reflections of water. So as we go farther, there's less definition on the waves, and as we come closer, we can define these waves better. So you can see that the Viridian green is sort of picking up in there. It looks greener, and it's funny because where I was putting it before, it doesn't look that green. And it's okay that we are seeing some of the pink seeing through, and these are reflections of the pylons. And again, you know, we have all of those colors, so I don't want to put the same brush strokes everywhere, so I'm just re-establishing sort of a base color without getting rid of the rest of the colors in the top. I'm just re-establishing a turquoise color for the water, and in here, being a reflection, we can have some areas that are wiggly areas. I have all these colors ready in my palette. If some of them I have used, then I can always reestablish, because my palette is rather simple, so it's not that difficult to reconstruct the colors that I have in my palette. Okay, I think this is gonna be a better base for now creating the waves. So for creating waves, on top. I'm just seeing if the colors are making a better composition here. Darker on these areas, lighter in the back. Okay, so now we're gonna introduce that orange color that will be reflecting in some of these waves. And again, I mean, there's less waves in the back, so less notorious, and more notorious in the front. So they're not reflecting exactly the same, but they should at least follow some pattern where more areas have this kind of orangey color. And I think there's more orangey colors also in some of these areas. Now, okay, I think this is probably a little better. And then we have the pinkish color. So I'm gonna mix it a little bit with the orange. I don't want that pink to be too on your face pink. Is it working? And chisel my brush. I had a lot of paint, so chisel the brush as much as possible, so we have better waves in here, and there's gonna be areas of pink. Again, get more paint and some areas of nice pinkish color where we did establish some of that orange. We have some areas of pink nearby. Okay. And I'm going to wipe the brush and use the lighter Indian yellow with white for that reflection. That's the brightest reflection. I don't want to use cadmium yellow. I think it's gonna be probably too much. And so I think this Indian yellow works better for this part that's reflecting more of the sunlight. And as you come closer, or as it gets farther from the origin of the reflections get wider. And let's see, I think that works well, and it will actually work even better if we make a bit more of these colors nearby. Not everywhere, but nearby we can have some of these colors, which are, sorry about saying these colors, it's this pink, this pink and the orange that we had. So those are the colors that I mean. And I'm getting into the pile where I have some more pink on one end, some more orange color on the other end. And in some of these areas, I'm gonna come back with some of that turquoise blue. Okay, I think this is probably going to, or starting to make it look better. We have a lighter color of the sky right there behind, and although it's not reflecting necessarily that color, I think it might be good to add some of that color to this area of the painting. And just to create some harmony on colors. And now I did mention that I wanted to fix a couple of things, but one of the things I mentioned is that I was going to come back with that turquoise color in some of these areas. Actually, I'm going to use the lighter one in some of these areas, just to create more depth to this water. So this is the one that has Viridian green and white. Don't cover all of the work we've done before. It's just some waves on top of this, and in between some of these areas. It just creates a better sensation of movement of the water. Okay, all right. So I think that right now what we need to do is clean the brush really well, really well. And we need to do a bit of dark areas. So the original dark purple, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, no white. So that's why we washed the brush. This is reflecting a bit. And then some of these reflections need to be a little bit more clear. Especially here. And now the shape of those pylons, I did try to shape them with negative painting, but they became weird. So let's just reestablish them. They should be straight up. And in the photo, they do look very dark. They probably shouldn't be that dark, and that one is probably too wide. So one option is to make this wider. No, I think that's too wide. Okay, so we'll just make it less wide. I just don't want to take too much longer. Okay, some of the darker areas here, we just need to establish. There's these lines that we had on top, and they're like in between this. I don't know exactly. I think they are just railings. Yeah, I think they are railings because I can see that there's a line. So if I painted those areas there, it's supposed to be like where you have those. And then I can see that in some of these, you can barely see some reflections that join these railings sort of this way, and that's the reflection in the water. Okay, so it's not a science, it's a way to create the sensation or the image that we are trying to convey of a nice morning in the area of the marina. And now that I have this with oh, I'm so sorry, I keep hitting it. I'm just using the light purple. I did mention that these needed to be wider in the bottom. So this is a purple color. And it goes because of the perspective. So it should be just slightly larger. Just, do you see how difficult it is to paint on top of where we have put the white opaque? So that's why I'm saying it's always better start with the darks. And it's really hard to make it darker on top of the light. It's giving me a bit of trouble. So maybe I should have just left it the way it was. Yes, there are some things that I could correct after I finish the painting if there are minor things, and I will post the final painting in YouTube. Although I usually like to show you the whole process, I think this is probably taking way too long. So I will fix that once it gets dry. And I think I achieved what I wanted. Was, you know, the marina and the pylons on the marina, there's a reflection in the water, and then you actually see it's a sunlight, and there's some clouds in there. Some clouds are getting the reflection of that sunlight, and the sunlight is hitting here in the water. And I think that with that we can finish this painting. Please check my channel for other videos, and I'm just going to direct you. I think you're going to see the links to subscribe to my channel if you are interested, as I put some final touches of color in some areas that I think may benefit. Check my channel for other videos. If you liked this, please subscribe. And if you want to start painting, in the description box I have listed the materials that I use. Now that doesn't mean you need to use the same materials. If you have other preferences, you can use other kind of acrylics or oils. I also paint in oils, so you can do these in either acrylics or oils. Of course, if you're painting in oils, you do need to consider that oils dry in, you know, slower, so you need to wait to apply some of these layers, unless you're very good as an alla prima painter and you can get your colors clean on top of the other layers of color. If you are knowledgeable on how to do it, you can try these same images that I'm painting in oils, and you don't need to do necessarily the acrylics. Thank you very much, and I hope you join me for other videos. This is a Pier cityscape in the back, or skyline in the back, and a bright sunrise. Thank you very much, and please check my other videos, subscribe, and see you soon.